The following is a presentation of the Chicago Bears Network and ChicagoBears.com. Download the Chicago Bears official app for up-to-the-minute Bears content every day. And now, welcome to Bears All Access, your all-access pass into Chicago Bears football. Bears All Access is brought to you by IGS Energy and sponsored by Connie's Pizza, Athletico Physical Therapy, and CDW.
Good to be with you, everybody. Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer. The Week 5 road trip to Vegas just ahead on Sunday. And welcome into Bears All Access is brought to you by IGS Energy, the 3-and-run Raiders in beautiful Allegiant Stadium awaiting the 2-and-2 Bears. We're with you until 7 o'clock tonight. We're brought to you again by IGS Energy. Program tonight includes up-and-coming Bears outside linebacker Trevis Gipson, the second-year Tulsa product, rocking and rolling right now off his best game as a Bear against the Lions. And we get the latest on the Vegas Raiders from radio analyst and former Raider left tackle Lincoln Kennedy. Thanks to our producers Jordan Tredup, Dan Barilli, and the folks here at The Score. Tom, Justin Fields named the starting quarterback for now and into the future, as long as that may be, against the Raiders Sunday. And if all goes well and if he stays healthy, it's a job he's going to keep for a very long time for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, staying healthy is the key here, Jeff, because we've been haunted by some backstories of young quarterbacks that are inexperienced, and then they succumb to some type of injury, most notably Joe Burrow last year, after having an MVP Rookie of the Year type of season. So now that being said, we've seen enough incremental improvement throughout time from OTAs, throughout training camp, into the early part of the regular season that it's got to be explored. This team may be more threatening on offense with his type of athleticism respected, but now it's got to be the perfect combination of Bill Lazor's play calling and the way that Justin Fields can play behind center. That's a much-needed ingredient in the future success of Justin.
Yesterday, Matt Nagy talked about the process continuing to develop for Justin Fields.
It's very important. You want to be able to see growth, and what is that? And there can be a long definition to what the growth and development is of a quarterback, and so that's our job as coaches to be able to do that, not just on game day, but prep from Monday to Saturday, and have him understand, how he can get. He can't just get better on Sunday, right? He's got to do that, but he can't just get better there. He's also got to get better Monday through Saturday, and there's ways to do that, and that's where the coaches and teammates come in.
And that coach is offensive coordinator Bill Lazor, John DeFilippo, the quarterback coach. Lazor talked about it earlier today, just how much practice has impacted his thinking about the development of Justin Fields and how he's taken it to Sunday. It's not always going to look the same. There are certainly variables that are in play, including the other defense, but that practice thing seems to be a big hook. And his ability to bounce back from the adversity in Cleveland and take it to the field at home against Detroit.
Yeah, but there's two different sides of the thinking process during the practices for Bill Lazor, Matt Nagy, John DeFilippo, and all the offensive coaches. Whenever you're evaluating your player, whether it's Juan looking at the offensive line or these guys looking at the quarterback, you got to look at how all this improvement and development fits in with your next opponent. So it's not only looking at Justin throwing this type of pass better, but how does this play work well against what you're going to see from the Raiders? How is he seeing this protection according to this third and whatever situation he's facing? So it's never a one-dimensional thought process. It's always how are you developing according to the plan of the future.
And Justin Fields says he really appreciates how Matt Nagy and the coaching staff last week set the tone by listening, talking, discussing about even the game plan.
I think he, put it in the game plan last week. So, that's just props to Coach Nagy for listening to us and, kind of just putting in what the players want and what the players thought to, get us more confident about the game plan and stuff like that. And kind of us all on the same page about everything.
Just listening to maybe some of the ideas that they came up with and what those are, we will never know. But in terms of specifics in plays or what's called.
Well, throughout Justin's career, and especially when you come from a program of high-profile Ohio State University, you have a chance to have these same discussions with your coaches at that level. And that's why Justin has developed into the quarterback he is, because he can be included in the conversation of the coaches of what he sees or where this game plan can go and how it can grow. So all those types of things that Justin says, I really admire him. Jeff, one thing about Justin, the more I hear him talk at the podium, the more I like him. Because he's a thoughtful guy. He has a good understanding of not how to answer questions, of what he wants to say and the way he thinks about him. So you can see this guy might be light years ahead of the development process, but he's going to have the opportunity to continue to show it now throughout the season.
And really happy to hear how the quarterback room is dealing with this. It's not easy. There's no way around it. And you got a veteran and a very classy guy in Andy Dalton. Called up Justin Fields the night before, said, hey, I got you. And that really is a big part of this succession plan at the moment, because it could get real ugly if it was any other way.
You know what? And because a lot of the stuff that Justin has said about Andy Dalton, I couldn't have any more admiration for him than I do. Obviously, he survived in the scenario that he went through at Cincinnati, did what he did last year in Dallas, and now he has a different trial throughout his career. This year, that's the way it's been presented to him. So I think the Bears are really fortunate to have a guy like Andy Dalton that's willing to commit himself to help Justin become the best player he can this year in the shortest amount of time.
Injury news, of course, David Montgomery sidelined with a knee sprain. No official timetable on his return to the field, so that gives a great opportunity for Damian Williams and also Khalil Herbert, the Bears' rookie running back. We'll delve into all that. Talk defense coming up next, though, with outside linebacker Trevis Gipson. It's all just ahead here on Bears All Access, brought to you by IGS Energy, here on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Welcome back to Bears All Access. We're brought to you by IGS Energy. Choose clean energy for your home at IGS.com, because every good choice adds up to a better world. With Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak here on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. This is Bears All Access, and pleased to be joined by Bears outside linebacker, the second-year terror right now, Trevis Gipson. Trevis the Terror, I like it. I don't know what kind of nickname you might have had at Tulsa, but Trevis the Terror is not too bad right now. How you feel about it?
I feel pretty good, man. The nicknames, they'll come and go. Whichever one sticks is the one I'm going to roll with. But right now I'm feeling good and motivated with a lot of confidence.
What did they call you in college, by the way?
They actually just call me Trev. I never weirdly throughout my football career, I haven't acquired a nickname, so that'll be something I look forward to.
Yes, if you keep sacking quarterbacks and breaking up passes, you'll be getting a lot of nicknames. But it must feel good after not getting a ton of playing time last year. We saw you coming on strong in training camp, and you're delivering right now. This is probably the best you've played, right?
Yes, sir, it is. I feel like I'm at my peak.
Hey, Trevis. First of all, I've been reading quotes there. You're throwing out Roddy Piper's name. Are you old enough to know who he is?
I'm actually not, man. My coach showed me an old wrestling video that I stole that quote from. So, and I actually liked the video. It was pretty interesting.
Right. I just think it's funny. An older guy like me, 60 years old, I'm super familiar with Piper. So when I heard you go, wow, this guy's old school. But let me ask you something. So your junior year in college, and I'm kind of leading up to the question to now. So your junior year in college, you have 4 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. Your senior year, you have 8 sacks, 15 tackles for loss. What was the difference in those 2 years that you had such improvement from one year to the next?
I think I just sort of let loose. It was my last year in college. I knew I wanted to play in the NFL. I dedicated more time to my pass rush. The previous years before that, I really was just focusing on my body, making sure I was in the right shape and size to be able to compete in the position that I was in, considering it was a 3-down lineman front for our defense. So, I sort of started working on my pass rush. I went to the Von Miller Pass Rush Summit, and I think I acquired a lot of techniques from those guys. So I took that into my senior year and just left it all out on the field.
Okay, then let's speed up till now, because Jeff and I were out at training camp every day. And, there's certain guys that kind of catch your eye with regularity. And it was, you look faster, you look bigger, you looked like you had a larger arsenal of pass rush moves, and you were performing them a lot better. So was there a significant improvement this year throughout the offseason? Because when I look at your stats from junior, senior year, then I look at you from a rook now to your second year, you look like a completely different player.
Oh, yeah, man. This past offseason, I took main focus to my pass rush, but also my body. Our strength conditioning coach, Loco, he helped me out a lot on my explosiveness, change of direction. just getting my body ready for the career that I want to have. So, I took a lot of time to invest into that, and I think overall it helped.
Trevis Gipson, our guest here on Bears All Access. It's brought to you by IGS Energy on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Hey, Trevis, when you talked about the Von Miller camp, and I know you've touched on it, so is Cole Kmet in terms of the tight ends and what he did with that tight end class with George Kittle, and there's little things you pick up. So you analyze guys. I'm sure you popped on a bunch of tape of guys past and present that rushed the passer, but when you're analyzing these things, like we analyze you now, if you're analyzing them in our shoes, are you surprised at the subtle differences that lead to success for each individual pass rusher? And you think to yourself, man, can I actually do that move with my traits and my skill and my athleticism? Or, maybe you can't. Maybe you can't replicate that. Are you as in awe of certain guys and how they work their technique and their footwork and their skill as we are looking at you guys and analyzing you as a great athlete?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I try to look at guys that sort of have the same body type similar to me and try to steal moves from those guys. But it's so many things that I have still to learn. I feel like I'm still a raw player. So when I look at these older vets and the greats that we talk about, it's so many little things that I overlook or as a young player that I don't typically think of. So when I do see those things, it's like, wow, like I didn't even, or it's almost like I ask myself, why didn't I think of that? Because it's so many crazy things that could work, but it's just, football is so scattered. There's so many things that you can look at, from down and distance to tendencies on the offensive tackle to things that you can do to, make your game uncertain to the opponent, obviously. But yes, I'm always in awe, especially with the guys in my room, Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack. Those guys, the way they watch film and the way that they do certain things with their body on their pass rushers, it's amazing to me.
Well, can you get as low as Robert Quinn does when he starts to turn the corner and bend that edge? Or, I'm always fascinated, and Tom's heard me say this too, just the hands of somebody. It looks as though, you have to slow down the tape frame by frame sometimes to see a guy's hands unlock their pass rush. It's not clear to the naked eye. You got to slow it down. Is that something that you even look at?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Going to Robert Quinn bend, he used to wrestle basically most of his life, high school. But, that gives him that bend. So I know that's something that I need to work on to help me turn the corners. But as far as hands, man, it's, they teach me so much about just the basic mechanics of the body. And that's something that I feel like I've sort of overlooked up until now, just knowing if I pull one guy's arm, how it affects his opposite shoulder, just crazy stuff to help these guys get to the quarterback. And like I said, there's so many things, man. I could sit here for hours and talk about it.
Trev, when I watch Robert Quinn, I watch Khalil Mack. You remind me more of Khalil Mack than you do Robert Quinn. But they're two different types of players. And you talked about three-time heavyweight state championship wrestler in Robert Quinn. There's a little bit of that mobility, that Azu pass rusher. But to me, I'm more interested in your second move, because there's a lot of good offensive tackles. They're going to stand up, kind of stab you in the chest and ride with you, and then you have to use your second move. Is it something that comes to you during the pass rush, or are you already saying, okay, I know what the down and distance is, I know what this guy does. If he gets hands on me, this is what I'm going to come back with if you need that second move?
Honestly, it's sort of both. I like to look at the down and distance and know, like, if it's third and forever, they might run a screen. So I'll see if he try to jump sets me, and if he does and the running back falls out, then I'll just play the screen, or just little subtle things. But majority of the time during pass rush, it's really off of reaction. So, I already have a move in mind, or my favorite counters that we like to call them. But, I go to my go-to move, or if I do a bull rush one play, then the next play I might do a speed rush. it's really just like playing chess, keeping your opponent on their heels and trying to see, basically what they'll give me and what I can give them. And basically whoever comes out on top or whoever plays the best mind game along with technique usually is the one who comes out with the win.
When you look at last year's training camp, condensed couple weeks, you barely get any reps. This year, you got a new defensive coordinator. You also have the full length of the time for training camp, and you get a ton more reps. You got a lot of snaps in the preseason. Do you think that took you to another level of player just because you had the opportunity not only to work on your moves, but get more familiar with offenses in the NFL? And how beneficial was that for you?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. The more reps make an actual big difference. It can make a difference in my confidence and actually my comfortability. So it's really just about, the more reps that I get, the more things I start to notice, the more things I pick up on, the more comfortable I feel. So, it builds my confidence. It gives me actual tape to teach myself on things that I can do better to make myself more unpredictable. And, it's a whole mountain of things that reps can do. But I feel like that's been the biggest thing that has helped me improve my game because I get to feel the game more. I get to, run pass rushes and do, stop the run and things that I didn't really get a chance to last year. So I think that's been the biggest thing that has helped me.
With Trevis Gipson, Jeff Joniak, and Tom Thayer. One more segment to go with the Bears outside linebacker. First, a break here on Bears All Access on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. This segment of Bears All Access is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an appointment in clinic or virtually and start feeling better tomorrow with Trevis Gipson, Bears outside linebacker out of Tulsa, taking advantage of great opportunities right now with the Bears here in 2021, Tommy.
Yeah, we're talking about the pass rush arsenal that you have. But so, Trev, as an offensive lineman, I liked blocking guys in 2-point stance. I didn't like blocking guys in 3-point stance because I think they held their lower leverage better. So now you have the opportunity to do both. Where's your comfort zone? 2-point, 3-point?
Yes, sir. Well, to me, it's when I'm in a 2-point stance, I feel like I can see the field more. I can see the motions coming from the opposite side of the field. If the back was the flip sides, just little things like that. That's something that helps me with in my 2-point. Now with my 3-point stance, I feel like I can get off the ball faster. I come out of my stance with more explosion. So, it's just taking those chances. Some pass rushes or some pass rush snaps, I might get in a 3-point if it's deep. I feel like I need more speed to get that edge, then I might jump in a 3-point. Or if it's a shorter down, I might stay in a 2-point just in case it's a tricky play, a draw or a screen or something. It really all depends on the feel of the game, man.
It's one thing to just have these guys go do their thing, but it's another to deploy them. And I think Sean is deploying by, for example, moving Khalil, with Robert Quinn on one side, the stunts, the twists that matter and dictated by whomever you're playing. Do you feel as well as you're being deployed this year?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. I do, man. I feel like they're using my strengths to help us win games. And, we have, like you just said, we have a ton of stars on our defense and even more on our offense. So, I feel like things are going well. I know Coach Desai knows my strengths and my weaknesses, and I think he's putting me in the best position to be as successful as I can be.
People are getting to know you, Bears fans, so I get asked a lot of questions about you. And, sadly, we haven't had the one-on-one time extensively to get to know players. But I have told them you come from a very athletic family, and you've been on this show before when in your rookie year, I think when you first were drafted. But everybody in your family is an athlete. Go down the list a little bit, and what do you think you pulled from each of these folks?
My grandfather on my mom's side, he did football. My grandfather on my dad's side, he did football. So I think that's where my main football traits come from. My dad did basketball. My mom did a little bit of soccer. My brother does pro basketball. So I think my agility and quickness, I would say I grabbed from the basketball players in my family. And the toughness and grit and determination, I think I grabbed from my grandparents on both sides and also my dad and brother. So, I mean, I know I didn't come from my brother, but I think, they all taught me a lot of different things. And it's really the determination in me, I feel, is what helps me make a lot of plays and, just not being denied. I don't like being denied. I'm not a good loser. I don't like to lose. So that's just a chip on my shoulder that I like to carry around with me.
Well, you're being humble because your grandpa Tom was a defensive tackle. I have it here for the 71 Oakland Raiders. And your mom played soccer and ran track at North Texas. Your dad played basketball at Texas. And your brother is playing pro basketball or has played pro basketball in Finland. This is great bloodlines, right? Now, could you have played any of these other sports, the soccer, run track, or play basketball with the best of these guys, including mom?
With the best of them, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. As much as I would like to say I could, I don't think so. I just wouldn't let them run all over me, though. I have to try to put a little bit of physicalness into the game from the football side.
Trev, you got the guys in the past that played football when technology was a lot different, dieting was a lot different, scientific hydration was a lot different. All this stuff of watching tape of your opponent and all the other stuff that's helping construct Trev into the player ultimately he's going to be. How beneficial has all that been for you in the last year and a half to have access to a variety of helpful opportunities?
Oh, man, it's been tremendous. I think the biggest thing for me has been recovery. Tulsa was obviously a great school, tremendous school, nice school. But I didn't really have access to the recovery methods that I did there that I have now here in Chicago. So, Andre has been helping me out, our athletic trainer. They make sure that everything is good, I'm healthy. But they also make sure I recover. And that's not their job, but they've shown me different ways to help me do my job, which is recover. So, I think that's been a big thing that has also helped my game continue to go upward. And I plan on, just keep soaking things up. I'm still young. This is only my second year in the league. There's so many vets on my team, so many that it's almost impossible not to be a sponge around these guys. So, that's something I'm grateful for, and I'm going to continue to look forward to it.
Trev, back at the old San Francisco Stadium, it was probably the worst locker room I've ever been in the history of my sports life. Now I hear John Gruden complaining about the visitors' locker room at SoFi Stadium. Can you take us into that locker room and tell us, did you notice it? Was it a pain for you the way it's constructed, or is it just, kind of a complaint that means nothing?
Honestly, I think it's a complaint that, I don't even think it needs to be said. I didn't see anything wrong with the locker room. I'm appreciative to be in the position that I'm in, but, I didn't see anything wrong with the locker room. Regardless, it's not affecting the play on the field. So I don't think that was a factor that needed to really be filtered into anything, honestly.
Trev, the locker room in the old San Francisco Stadium was built for baseball teams. You had about 3.5 too many big guys in there for the space, and I do think it affected the game. So I was just interested to hear your point to see, probably nothing made of it, just a head coach's complaint.
Especially after a loss. Right. I'm sure he wasn't happy at all.
Right.
How are you looking at these Raiders? Right. What do you see it on tape that's got your attention, Trevis?
I gotta tip my hat to them. They're a good team. They have speed. Their offensive line is physical. They like to run. It's it's so much, especially taken from today, that all the information that we were given. They're a team that you have to respect. But we're gonna go in there and fight the fight, and it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, I venture to say there'll be a lot of Bears fans traveling to Vegas as well. All right, now the fun portion of our show. Quick 5 questions. Whatever pops into your mind, let it rip, all right? This is just some fun stuff. Pre-game ritual, do you have one?
Pre-game ritual? I usually just chill, listen to the music in the locker room. The night before, I like to eat French toast. I think that's my ritual. I'm a big fan of French toast, so I like to Uber eat some French toast or something wherever we are and, just enjoy it, get ready for the next day.
That's an interesting one. Syrup or no syrup on the French toast?
Light syrup, just a little bit, not too much.
If you have one, what is your worst habit, in your opinion?
My worst habit? I think if I was to say, I like cheeseburgers, man. Our facility, our facility, they make some really good cheeseburgers, and I don't think it's been a week that has went by that I haven't grabbed at least one. So I don't know the health factors on that, but I think that's something I need to break the tendency of.
I'm sure you're burning it off a little bit. You got a favorite actor out there in the movie world or TV? Favorite actor?
Favorite actor? Probably Michael B. Jordan or Will Smith. I feel like those are great actors. They played in a lot of action movies. Actually a wide range of movies. So I think if I was to go with any of those, it would probably be one of those guys.
A skill you'd love to learn?
Oh, I wish I could dance, man. I guess I wouldn't say stage fright, but in situations I have the opportunity to dance, I'm hesitant. I'm goofy. I like to joke around. I'm outgoing, but that's just one hump I can't get over, man.
That makes three of us.
Right.
Sure. And lastly, what advice would you give to your younger self, a younger Trevis Gipson?
I believe standing now, I think I would say I put in the most work that I could, but I would say put in even more, honestly. I see where I am now, but I just think if I did put in even more work than what I did, where could I be right now? So that's something that I plan on doing, obviously, this next offseason and every day here on out.
Well, we do appreciate your time, and we know you're a committed player, man. You've said that from the moment you got here. I think it all started when that 200-pound kid at high school wasn't really recruited very heavily, and you've taken that a long way already, and a big, bright future ahead for you. We really appreciate it, Trevis. Have a great game against the Raiders. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
yes, sir. Thank you both.
Trevis Gipson, our guest here on Bears All Access. Tom and I will sit down and talk to Lincoln Kennedy, the former left tackle of the Atlanta Falcons and the Raiders, now the radio analyst. It's all just ahead here on Bears All Access on Chicago Sports Radio, 670 The Score. Back to Bears All Access with Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. We're brought to you by CDW. CDW, people to get it. Learn more at CDW.com. Pleased to be joined for a look at the Las Vegas Raiders. Lincoln Kennedy, the former first-round pick of the Atlanta Falcons and a decade-plus player in the National Football League. You can't miss him. You look like you're still ready to play, buddy.
Oh, no, believe me, I took a few plays off the field with me just so I could keep them in the closet. But no, this is a young man's game. I'm 50 years old right now. I don't need to go back out there and prove anything. I'm good.
The funny thing is, though, at the end of your career, you did, right? You played 3 years after the NFL for the Tampa Bay Storm of the Arena Football League.
Yeah, I can honestly say that I was one of those athletes or former athletes that had that itch. After hanging up my cleats, I thought I was done. Sat on my couch, started watching football again, and got myself back in shape. I was like, wait a minute, healed up from all the injuries and the beatings that I took, and said, wait a minute, I think I can give it another try. And so my agent at the time suggested just try arena football so you can see, people can see that you can play, and maybe you'll get another shot at the National Football League. But arena football took whatever football dreams left I had in me, took it out. I walked off the field from that, and I was like, I'm done. I'm definitely done.
It's something about the chances you take, Lincoln, because I played my first 3 years in the USFL and kind of stepped outside the NFL box after I got drafted, and it was a great experience for me. But, reading about you, I cannot wait to ask you this question, because we played about the same amount of time. I played offensive guard, you played offensive tackle. In my time, I think I recovered 1 fumble. I read that you recovered 9 fumbles in your career. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know the exact stat, but that sounds about right, Tom. The thing is that since college, I prided myself of always trying to be around the ball to help protect the ball carriers or the receivers. And so I would hustle down the field to either pick my guys up off the floor or on the ground, or just just be around the ball, as I said. And there were opportunities where the ball's out and you got to go in there and try to pry. But being on bottom of most of those piles, I can tell you anything goes. Everything happens at the bottom of those piles. Everybody's trying to go for the football. So it was one of those places where I just try to take my big body and curl up in the fetal position and protect myself until the rest dusted everything off.
All right, then let's talk about your big body and the big bodies of offensive tackles. Can you look at 6'6", 6'7" frame, 300 plus pounds? When you look, I don't know if you had a chance to watch Robert Quinn's rushes yet. When you see his bendability with that positive forward movement, what advice would you give to a young offensive tackle? They just played Penei Sewell up in Detroit.
Right.
And, you guys got Leatherwood there in the Raiders. What advice do you give a big tackle about how to play a guy with that bendability?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, Tom. The game has reformed itself where it actually it evolved itself to 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, year round. It's no longer like it was for us where we had the majority thought that it was 6 months on, 6 months off. You've got to always keep yourself in shape. And what I tried to suggest, especially to offensive linemen, was that when I played, I did things like acupuncture. I did things like Pilates, yoga, just everything I could to keep myself limber. You've got to keep yourself limber because you never know as an offensive lineman when somebody's going to fall on your legs in awkward places. So flexibility is absolutely key and essential, as well as just the overall investment in your body. You have to figure out, I read a lot of books, and one of the best ones was Eat Right for Your Blood Type, which showed you foods that are more beneficial to your body style, body type than others. And those are the type of the investments that you have to do in your body, in my opinion, in order to stay around. You see guys like Tom Brady, LeBron James, they invest tons and tons of money into their body just so they can keep performing. I think offensive linemen need to soon take a page out of that because, it's hard. It's hard, and it's hard to stay on that level and stay at that competitive edge. You've got to invest in your body if you want to do it.
Lincoln Kennedy, our guest here on Bears All Access. It's brought to you by IGS Energy. As Tom and I break down the Raiders, we start always with the offensive line of every team, and so a redo with that group, and some big names no longer a part of that or on the injured list right now. How is that line adapting? We watched them on Monday night, obviously, against the Chargers, but Leatherwood is a great place to start because he comes from a big program and a lot on his shoulders right now.
Well, I like Alex Leatherwood because he loves to play football. More importantly, he likes to beat people up, so he's right in the same mentality that I had as an offensive lineman right there. But he still needs to develop. There's still things that, especially at his pass sets, he needs to work on, and only time is going to, tell what type of player he's going to be. And I've always believed offensive linemen and quarterbacks are two of the positions that need as many reps as possible. So you don't put anybody on the sideline and make them hold a clipboard. They've got to be out there. They've got to see it. They've got to experience. Schematic-wise, there are things that coaches can do to help protect some offensive tackles or offensive players that struggle, especially in the offensive line. But we're still seeing that develop with Tom Cable and Coach Gruden and the staff with the Raiders. But for the most part, I think Alex Leatherwood is going to be good. I like the fact that he's a strong run blocker. He's coming along in the pass game. Overall, with the offensive line, especially with the interior part, you guys know that we've had some changes. Denzel Good, who was listed as the right guard, went down in game 1 and is on IR for the rest of the year with a torn up knee. Richie Incognito has yet to play yet, and Gruden's really been hush-hush as to why, but he's been put on the IR for the next couple of weeks, so he's down. So John Simpson, with a former third-round draft choice that they got from Clemson a few years ago, has been thrusted into the starting position, as well as Jermaine Illuminor, who's a recent addition right after the training camp. He's got some experience coming out of Texas A&M. I think he's a fifth-year player, if I'm not mistaken. Don't have my notes right in front of me. And then Andre James, who played mostly tackle in his college days, but has been converted to center. He's struggled a little bit, but Tom, I have the utmost confidence in Coach Cable, the offensive line coach. He's the one who got Colton Miller a few years ago, who turned out to be a good franchise tackle for the Raiders, left tackle. This is a work in progress, but overall, it's a group that I see improving as the year goes on.
John Gruden's father was our running backs coach when I went to college, so it's kind of an offensive-centric family. When you think about the defense, though, the Raiders, they always had that tough guy reputation going back to when I was a kid. Does Gruden have any hands-on approach to the defense, or is he totally quarterback offensive-centric and then the defense coaches take care of themselves?
Totally offensive minded. He always has been. Even the days when I played for him, he's always been offensive minded, focused on the quarterback, focused on the offensive game plan and scheme. He's turned over the defensive chores to Gus Bradley, who's done a fairly good job so far. The Raiders are 3-1 after the first month of football. I don't think you can. You can ask for better than that before 4-0, but it's unlikely, especially the parity that's in today's game. But for the most part, Gruden has turned over the defense to Gus Bradley, who's got those guys fired up. Now, this is a case where there's going to be a few injuries, especially in the secondary, that they have to deal with. But for the most part, the strength of this defense right now is the pass rush ability from the defensive line. If they can generate some movement and some rush towards the quarterback to make those quarterbacks feel uncomfortable, that's the big process. That's the key to this defense, playing this cover 3 style defense.
Jeff and I came from Cleveland 2 weeks ago. We talked about the black hole of the Midwest. What is the atmosphere inside the Vegas stadium on behalf of the Raiders?
Absolutely wonderful. I mean, if you guys get a chance to come out with the Bears, you'll see it firsthand. But this is the first time I've been affiliated with the Raiders well over 25 years, quarter of a century. And this is the first time I can honestly say the Raiders have their own home. When they were in L.A., they had to share it with SC. And SC was a bigger name, a bigger draw at the Coliseum in L.A., even though they won a Super Bowl there. And when they were back in Oakland, they had to share the stadium with A's. And it was really, it wasn't fun to play on that infield turf, and it really wasn't, a good thing to feel that you had the most dilapidated stadium in the National Football League when everyone else was getting new stadiums. You were left to play in that disaster. But now that they're in Vegas, they've got their own home. Allegiant is beautiful. It's a definite home field advantage. The crowd has played into in the 2 games that they played there so far, and more importantly, it's the Raiders' home. So when you walk through Allegiant Stadium, it's everything Raiders, and that's the first time that I've seen it since I've been affiliated with the program.
Lincoln Kennedy, our guest, couple of more moments with the former left tackle and now radio analyst. And that fast turf, I'm sure, is exactly what is making Max Crosby deadly at home, sacking the quarterback. So he's an interesting character that we were introduced to when we played you guys in London, and he was kind of a surprise guy as a later-round pick from Eastern Michigan. But he's a different player on the home surface, isn't he?
Well, there's no doubt about it. And you know what? I tip my hat to Max Crosby because in this offseason, especially after his second year, he really cleaned himself up. He cleaned himself up mentally and physically. And what I mean by that is it's no secret. He went to a rehabilitation center and got his life straight and determined that he was going to invest a lot into himself. And right now it's paid off. He's playing at a really high level. And the Raiders were kind of looking forward to that. This is a very critical time. We know the breakout season that he had as a rookie. And then, of course, it was almost like a sophomore slump. But it was just the fact that more offenses were paying more attention to him than they did his first year and keying on him. So that took him a little bit of a step back. But so far this year, he's been an absolute crowd wrecker. And as I mentioned a moment ago, the key to this defense, playing this style of defense, is you're going to have press coverage on the outside receivers, but you've got to have a front four that can generate pressure or at least make the quarterback feel uncomfortable to get rid of the ball. You'll take a lot of the short underneath stuff because as you get closer to the red zone, you guys know the field becomes more compact and becomes tighter and it becomes less and less ability for you able to stretch it like that. So, you got to have a pass rush, and Max Crosby and crew have really stepped up this year.
Hey, Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney, they had 8 catches for 188 yards, biggest game of the season. Now, Monday night, it looked like you guys had some cornerback issues with guys leaving the game. I don't know their status. Is that going to be a matchup that the Bears will be able to take advantage of, or is this kind of a recoverable injury scenario for the Raiders?
You know what, Tom, in all honesty, we don't have any clarity as to the significant or the extent of the injuries on the defensive backs. Trayvon Mullen was one of them. Damon Arnett also went out. Casey Hayward is in the corner, I think actually finished the game, if I'm not mistaken. So we do have some issues at corner. And yes, it is an issue. It's something that can definitely be exploited because, unfortunately, as a Raider guy, I don't want to say that, but it's true. You can see teams going at it, and it's bad in a sense, not necessarily bad, but it's concerning for the Raiders because for all intents and purposes, it seems the Bears have been able to figure out Justin Fields for at least one game. So the last thing you want to do is come in when your defense is struggling and going up against an offense that seems to get it hot. It has seemed to get hot. So, it is a case for concern.
All right, last question. We'll let you go, Lincoln. Appreciate all your time. We saved the best for last. Derek Carr. He's had a great start to the season. And then couple that with the slow start issue going on with you guys. Has it been pinpointed as to why? Because the Bears went through that last year.
In my opinion, it's execution. I've always felt that coaches coach, players play. You could put the best game plan together in the world to defeat every defense or every offense, however you want to look at it, and you could still come up short if you don't have the execution. The slow starts, I sort of deem it as the execution. And it's unfortunate because you've seen what Derek can do when he gets protection or when he gets time. Derek has been able to exploit all the weapons that he has in his arsenal. Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, as well as Darren Waller. They have yet to really get the run game consistent, but I think that's a work in progress with the two additions, especially at guard, that weren't expected to be there when the season started. So this is an offense that has the potential of being a high explosive, powerful offense. Hasn't seen its full potential yet, but it's all, to me, and when it's slow start, is attributed to its execution, in my opinion.
I appreciate it. And Hunter Renfro's hit literally had me jumping up in the air. I was in the house by myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a great play. I love players like that. So looking forward to seeing you out there. Thank you so much for taking the time. And Bears-Raiders will be a big draw, not only for the Chicagoans headed down, but for the Raider fans welcoming them to Allegiant Stadium. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Lincoln.
One more segment to go here on Bears All Access with Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak, and this is Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Download the Chicago Bears app to play our new predictor game, Risk It, brought to you by Bet Rivers for your chance to win $250 in free bets and a custom Bears jersey. With Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, our final segment here tonight on Bears All Access, brought to you by IGS Energy. Talk about Bears jersey. There's going to be a lot of them at Allegiant Stadium, Tom, and no question. I mean, I know Raiders fans, they are legit passionate, crazy, and supportive, and I'm certain they're going to fill that joint, but I'll tell you, I think the Bears fans are invading, and they'll pay top dollar to be in that building.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose the way you cheer at a Raiders game if you are wearing the opponent's colors, because a lot of these guys don't take too kindly to the opponent's fans trading their stadium. And like when we talk to Lincoln Kennedy, he talks about the Raiders finally have what they can call a home because they were so makeshift for so many years, moving around and sharing facilities. This is a facility that they want to build into their home like never before.
All right, let's listen to Sean Desai, the Bears defensive coordinator. The Bears are leading the league in sacks with 15. He says it's a start. It's only 4 weeks into the season, so let's have that consistency, keep building. But defending the Raiders, not an easy task. They have a lot of weapons with a quarterback right now that has confidence and is in sync with his head coach and John Gruden.
The difficulty is you're preparing for everything. And so you got to be really good at everything, because this team is built. The Raiders I'm talking about is built to attack everything. They can attack your edges in the run game. They can hit you downhill. Jacobs is a physical downhill runner, and you guys saw it on tape every week this year, where they're going to get their pass explosives. And there's going to be points in time where they're just going to tell Ruggs to run to the green grass, and Derek's going to throw it to the green grass, and he's going to go catch it. And they take a lot of shots with 89 on the outside, too.
89, Brian Edwards. But the big part of this whole thing is dealing with that tight end, though. The tight end position obviously has blossomed with Darren Waller. I go back, 2019, 2 touchdowns in his career. Now he's got 14 more in that period of time and over 200 catches. Tom, he is a load to deal with. But I think Sean Desai's defense, that back end, because they've given up 5 big shots that have led to touchdowns, it's tied for the most in the NFL.
Yeah, I tell you what, when you have this quarterback-coach relationship, and you've seen it throughout history in the league, whether it be Drew Brees and Sean Payton or some of the other relationships you have, that's what you really have to pay attention to, because if they recognize vulnerability in your defense, they're the type of guys that will attack it repeatedly. But when you have a weapon like their tight end, this guy can line up all over the field. He can be matchup nightmare from the line of scrimmage anywhere he lines up. So you don't want to show that you're incapable of stopping their tight end, but you want to make sure that you're capable of stopping their first big play efforts, because if you don't, look for him to go over the top continuously.
As we discussed with Lincoln Kennedy in our last segment, the Raiders scoreless on their opening offensive possession now for the 10th consecutive game dating back to last year. They've been in a 21-point deficit, a couple of 14-point deficits, so jump on them early. And just like last week, Jermaine Ifedi earlier this week discussing this, Matt Nagy put it on the O-line, and David Montgomery delivered. Montgomery not here this week. The offensive line, though, I would hope, have that same kind of mentality that they gave last week?
We just want the opportunity to show who we are, and I think Sunday was a cool step in the right direction of, all right, this is who we are. We can run it. We can throw it if we have to. We can throw it around. We got some good receivers, and we got some capable pass protectors, and we have quarterbacks that can really sling it. But the fact that they trusted us and said, hey, we're going to put it on y'all. Y'all tight ends, JP leading up in there a few times. You know, it was real cool. It's cool to be able to lean on guys, because then you start to have an identity. You start to make them feel you. When the defense start feeling you, you know, you start scoring points. So I think it was 21-0 at one point. You know, that feels good. And we just want to keep having that feeling going forward, because we know we're capable, and we still left some points out there. So you're capable even more. So we'll keep going and we'll just keep building on it. But it was a really good step in the right direction for us.
Tom, how does the line of scrimmage match up in this game with the Raiders? They come off the ball. Rod Marinelli is their D-line coach, so get off is number one.
Okay, you know what? What Jermaine Ifedi said right there, that's the same every single game an offensive lineman will ever play. They are never going to change your number and start putting in some pass routes for Jermaine Ifedi, Jason Peters, Cody, James Daniels, or Sam Mustard for that matter. It's all how the tight ends will accept their responsibilities, Jeff, because we have receivers as tight ends, Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet and Jesse James and the rest of the guys. But what they did last week, the blocking display they put on, if they're unselfish and they're willing to do that week in and week out, they can match up against any front in the NFL. And so if they want to have those multiple blockers, I think the Bears offensive line can control this defensive front and still be capable of doing everything. Damian Williams, he had a 25 carry game in 2020, so he knows what that responsibility is about. Offensive line the same. Give me the tight end position, what they did last week.
It's Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks again to our producers, Dan Barilli and Jordan Tredup, and the guys here at The Score. Thanks to our guests, Trevis Gipson, and also Lincoln Kennedy, the former Oakland Raider, now Las Vegas Raider franchise analyst. That'll do it for us tonight. This has been Bears All Access on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears All Access. Podcasts are available on chicagobears.com and on iTunes, or download the official Bears app. Bears All Access has been brought to you by IGS Energy and sponsored by Bet Rivers and Miller Lite.